Hi, and thanks for joining us. I'm Rhiannon Alley here in New York. We begin with breaking news on ABC News Live. Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been sentenced to 50 months in prison on 2 counts of transportation for the purpose of prostitution. So far, he has spent 12 months behind bars at a Brooklyn detention center, time that will be factored into his sentence. After Combs made his final plea to the court, the presiding judge over the case said, quote, "A history of good works cannot wash away the record in this case." For more, ABC News' Rena Roy is outside the courthouse, and former federal prosecutor Neama Rahmani joins us now. And Rena, let's start with you. What was the reaction inside the courtroom to this 50-month sentence?
Well, Rhiannon, I can tell you that Sean Diddy Combs was very somber during his sentencing. He was mostly expressionless, but he did appear to have a reaction when the judge said that he believed a significant sentence was warranted. His face appeared to drop, and he turned to his family moments later. He said, "I'm sorry, I love you," before grabbing his Bible off the table and walking out of the courtroom very quietly. And his mother, Janice Combs, who has really been here at the trial since day one supporting him, walked out of the courthouse tonight appearing to be in tears. And Combs was right before as he addressed the courtroom. He begged the judge for mercy, and he was sobbing, saying that he hates himself, that he feels broken to his core, that he feels like he failed his mother, failed his children, that he's learned his lesson and wants to go back to being a father and a son. But as we know, Rhiannon, he will not be going home for quite some time.
And Rena, we are hearing from Cassie Ventura as well. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so you'll remember that Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex-girlfriend, was really the star witness for the prosecution during this lengthy trial. She testified over the course of about 4 days, alleging years of physical and emotional abuse. In a statement, her attorney tonight said, while nothing can undo the trauma caused by Combs, the sentence imposed today recognizes the impact of the serious offenses that he committed. And I also want to point out that Gloria Allred, the attorney for several alleged victims, also spoke tonight after the sentencing outside the courthouse here behind us. And she says she believes that her clients will be comforted to know that he will now be behind bars for a number of years because their big fear was retaliation. Rhiannon.
And Neama, let's bring you in now. The prosecution wanted an 11-year sentence, citing Combs' violence. The judge called it unreasonable, sentencing him to 50 months in prison, 5 years of supervised release, and a fine of $500,000. Are you surprised by any of this?
I'm not surprised. In fact, I predicted 4 to 5 years yesterday. And look, even though the prosecution didn't get the 11 years they wanted, there's no question that this was a big win for the Department of Justice. After really losing this case essentially at the jury trial, they lost all the serious counts, the racketeering, the sex trafficking, and it was really a missed opportunity by the defense here. I'm surprised. They really put on an effective presentation for the jury, but not before the judge today. They made this case and this sentencing about Sean Diddy Combs, when it really should have been about the victims. In fact, they tried to prevent the victims from testifying, arguing in their pre-sentence paperwork that Cassie, Jane, and Mia weren't really victims at all and they had no right to address the court, because we know that the only people that have that right are the defendant and victims under federal law. So when the judge took the bench, he really took issue with that and said it was very inappropriate. And from there, it just went downhill. They put on this produced video talking about Combs and all the work that he had done, but none of the 5 high-priced defense lawyers to address the court, none of them addressed any of the victims except Brian Steele, and he said that Cassie Ventura consented to what she did. So if you're going to put on a mitigation case, if you're going to ask for leniency, Rhiannon, you have to do better than this, and this was a failed opportunity.
And Neama, our legal team reports you have to generally serve at least 85% of a sentence with a chance of shaving off up to 15% for good behavior. So what is the likelihood Combs could be released before this 50 months is up?
It's not going to happen. And the legal team's absolutely right, Rhiannon. Under federal law, you can only get a 15% reduction for good behavior if you're a model inmate. So he served about 13, 14 months. So Diddy is going to have to serve another 2.5 years in prison. The only real possibility of him getting out earlier or a successful appeal, and the arguments he's going to make on appeal are that the judge improperly considered acquitted conduct. There were some changes to the law last year. and that this wasn't prostitution because he didn't participate in the sex acts, he just watched, or that the fact that he videotaped this makes it a homemade pornography protected by the First Amendment. So we'll see those arguments raised on appeal to the Second Circuit in 2026. But probably the fastest opportunity and easiest route for Combs to get out is a presidential pardon. And there are reports that his team is already lobbying the president, who's given out a lot of pardons, including some to some rappers, to get a pardon or at least commute his sentence in this case.
All right, we'll see what happens. Rena and Neema, thank you so much for that.